What's up, my friends, and welcome into an emergency PHLY Phillies podcast. As always, it is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We are broadcasting live from the Xfinity mobile studio here in my house, which probably looks like more I'm in a dungeon, because I was not expecting this news to happen. So very low res, low profile broadcast today, as we do it from a wall, basically. But the Phillies signed Walker Buehler after he was released by the Boston Red Sox earlier this week. What does it mean for the Phillies playoff rotation? What does it mean for the next couple of weeks? What does it mean for Walker Buehler, the pitcher in 2025? Because I think the first thing that we need to understand is the separation of Walker Buehler, the name, and Walker Buehler, who he is currently right this second. 2022, Walker Buehler was about elite as they could possibly come. 2021. An all-star in 2021, 16-4, a 2.45 ERA, over 200 innings pitched. Strikeout numbers were great, 212 strikeouts. Finished fourth in the Cy Young in 2021. And at just 26 years old, it looked like kind of had the whole world ahead of him. But he's had a lot of injuries over the last couple of years, missed almost the entirety of 22, pitched 12 games in 22, missed all of 23, only pitched 16 games for the Dodgers last year, obviously pitched in the postseason and ended up with the save in the World Series, but has only thrown about 50-ish appearances over the last 4 seasons, really since that stellar 2021. And really the stellar 2019 that he also had, where he was 14-4, an all-star in that year as well. But the thing with Walker Buehler has always been injuries, right? The injuries have always been, over the last couple of years, have really plagued him. And it's why he's missed a good chunk of time. It's why he only had 12 starts the one year, 16 starts the other, missed the entirety of 2023, but was healthy this year for the first time really in a long time, and has been healthy pretty much all year. Signed a one-year deal with the Boston Red Sox, $21-ish million. I think at the time, most of us in baseball, but not just in Boston, but most of us in baseball looked at the deal and said, it's a good low-risk move, right? It's a little bit of money. It's $21 million for a season, but that's kind of the going rate for middle of the rotation type of guys that could be 2s or 3s. And if you get what you could hope from Walker Buehler, you may get a return to form. And I think that's kind of where the Phillies are sitting at right now. I'm going to say this right off the rip before we get into the X's and O's and the numbers and the baseball savant pages and stuff like that. This move does nothing for me. I'm not even going to pretend like it does. This move does absolutely nothing for me. His numbers in Boston this year were not good. He was 7-7 with a 5.45 ERA. He made 22 starts, was moved to the bullpen in his final appearance before being released. Now, Boston did him a service, being a vet, guy who's been around, seems like a good dude from what all the accounts tell you. They did him a service by releasing him as opposed to DFAing him and subjecting him to waivers, which kind of allows him to pick the spot that he wanted to go. But the numbers this year, they're not good. His whip is probably the first thing that jumps out to you. It's over 1.5, 1.55, close to 1.56. The hits really jump out to you. He's been hit pretty sizably this year, 120 hits allowed in just a little over 112 innings pitched, has given up quite a few home runs. In fact, the most home runs he's given up in a single season already with 22. The walk numbers are not nearly as good as they've been in the past either. Like, for example, the 2021 year, he had 52 walks and 207 innings pitched. This year, he's at 55 through 112. The numbers just don't reflect the type of pitcher that Walker Buehler once was. And so for me, again, right off the rip, I'm going to tell you, this doesn't do anything for me. I know why the Phillies did it, and we'll get into the why in just a second. But I think I have to give my opinion first to kind of understand the scope of this conversation. I think Walker Buehler's cooked. I'll be honest with you. I think he's cooked. He had a really good start against the Phillies, which maybe sticks in the minds of Phillies fans and maybe even in the mind of Dave Dombrowski a little bit earlier in the year. But the reason to me that I think that he's cooked, we'll get into in just a little bit. The why the Phillies did it is because they want rotational flexibility for the remainder of the season to allow guys like Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez and Jesus Luzardo, specifically those three, the three guys that are probably going to make postseason starts, to give them a little bit more length of time in between their starts for the remainder of the season. It's 25 games left in the year after today. The Phillies are playing their 137th game today. There'll be 25 games left. If you go through the rotation in a specific, like 1 through 5, that's 5 times through. So Walker Buehler, more likely than not, is going to make, I don't know, maybe 4, maybe 5 starts for the Phillies down the stretch. And so what this does is allows them to go to a 6-man rotation. And by the way, reports are that Walker Buehler is joining the rotation. And I would imagine that that would mean that that's going to be a 6-man rotation. The reason that they do this is to stretch out these guys for the postseason run. They want to allow Christopher Sanchez to get to that game 1 start with as few innings and as few bullets out of the chamber as he possibly can. Sanchez has been elite all season long. And I think they want to continue to allow him to do that. Another excellent start last night against the Braves. Ranger Suarez, we've seen over pockets in late July and into the early portion of August, where arm fatigue looked like maybe it was starting to come about. He's had 2 good starts consecutively, but it looked like, arm fatigue was starting to come about, and you wonder what's he going to look like come postseason. Jesus Luzardo has surpassed innings limits for his career, and I talked a lot about how much I love Jesus Luzardo and how I think he's been undervalued this year because of the bad starts. But there's no question that the Phillies want to try to get him to the postseason as fresh as possible. So I think that the justification as to the why this is because they're going to go to a 6-man rotation. I think you're going to see Taijuan Walker has started to leak a little bit of oil over the last couple of outings. Now, I will say, he went 5 innings last start. He gave up the 3 runs in the 1 inning, settled in. It was a solid enough start, but I think they're trying to get this rotation to the postseason as best as they possibly can. And that is why Walker Buehler signed here. If you want to take a look at Walker Buehler's numbers this year, it's a lot of negative. You take a look at the Baseball Savant page. There's a lot of blue, right? Chase rates are down. Whiff rates are down. Strikeout rates are down. The barrel rates are down. The fastball velocity from the last time that he was the elite level pitcher that we talked about at the beginning of the show is down about 1.5 miles from last year. 7-7, a 5.4 ERA, and we talked about the numbers, right? The hits are high, the walks are up from years prior. And then the one thing really to me that jumps out when we take a look at the Baseball Savant page, you can scroll past all the exit velocities and the barrel rates and things like that. It's the location of his pitches, and I think which is a big portion as to why it leads to why he's being hit around. The fastball location and the sinker location, to me, I think are the two that really jump out. The fastball location, 24% of the time he's using that 4-seam. It's a lot of middle. The same for the sinker, 16.4% of the time. It's a lot of middle. Now the cutter, I think has done a good job of running away. The slider looks like it. Just looking at locations looks good. The knuckle curve, same thing. But the fastball and the sinker are the two that really jump out to me. The locations are problematic, and it's why Walker Buehler has struggled this year. And I think that this is a move that you make in preparation for the postseason. Now, the reality is he was signed just in time to make the postseason roster. There's a very likely chance that he does, because what you know about Walker Buehler is his postseason heroics and his postseason numbers in general are really, really good. He's made 19 appearances in the postseason in his career, 18 starts, but 19 postseason appearances, just above a 3 ERA, over 94 innings pitched. The strikeout numbers are electric in the postseason. 114 strikeouts, over 94 and 2/3 innings pitched. That's a 10.8 strikeout per 9. And so when you look at this signing, I think the reason the Phillies did it, and the phrase that was being used quite a bit in the chat already, and hello to everybody, thank you for being a part of this. The phrase that was being used in the chat is low risk, high reward. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're exactly what they're trying to do is squeeze the last ounce of baseball productivity that they possibly can out of Walker Buehler. And what Walker Buehler is hoping to do is stick on a postseason roster and produce for a team, unlike what he was able to do with the Boston Red Sox. He's going to start for the rest of the regular season. Does that mean he's going to start come postseason time? Highly doubt it. I don't even know if that means he's going to make the postseason roster after all or not. But for me, this move is fine. It really doesn't do much for me in the way of, usurping the starting rotation in terms of he's going to be, help this team productivity wise down the stretch and into the postseason. The numbers to me are not good. And I think we can all agree with that. Like the 5.4 ERA is what it jumps out to you. But even if you take a look into the expected numbers, his expected ERA, 5.69. So it's actually basically right around the same number. And it's actually a little bit worse than his actual ERA. His expected, batting average and expected slugs are not particularly strong. His expected batting average is in the bottom 10 percentile across all of baseball. I think the likeliest scenario is that Walker Buehler is cooked. And it really sucks to say, because I think, even just a handful of years ago when you were watching Walker Buehler ascend and become the ace of a presumed ace of the Dodgers staff, he was really fun to watch. Power, fastball, good stuff. Still throws a ton of pitches, 7-pitch arsenal, 4-seam fastball, cutter, slider, sweeper, changeup, just a heavy mix of a whole bunch of different stuff, knuckle curve, sinkers involved. So I think as he's evolved, he's trying to keep you guessing as the stuff kind of deteriorates a little bit. But to me, at this point, this is an attempt at stringing out your starting rotation and hoping that your three big arms, Sanchez, Suarez, Luzardo, and Nola to an extent, but I think in the DS and in potential wildcard round and into the DS, the likeliest thought process is they're trying to get these guys as healthy and as rested to the postseason as they possibly can. You lose Zach Wheeler. I mean, it's devastating, of course. So you're trying to maneuver this starting rotation, which is still very, very good at the top three. You're trying to maneuver this starting rotation to get to the postseason as fresh as you possibly can. As I said, the likeliest scenario is that Walker Buehler probably makes about 4 or 5 starts within a 6-man rotation. It allows everybody to stretch out a little bit further. And at its best, you kind of found the fountain of youth with Walker Buehler. But my likeliest thought process is this ends up being a move that doesn't really help them anywhere past getting the guys that are going to start in the postseason to the postseason. And it's funny because I've seen in the chat, I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it in personal spaces. There's a lot of varying thought processes on this signing, where I think a lot of people look at it as low risk, high reward. I think, I've seen some people that are like, absolutely love it. Denise Snyder in the chat says love it. I've seen other people in the chat say they love it as well. But to me, it's 8 innings. It's 6-man rotation. And you're hoping to pull something out of what could be left from Walker Buehler. Now, really quickly, the other move that the Phillies did make, they claimed Tim Meza off waivers from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Be interested to see what they do with him. I think that you probably see him. I don't know if they're going to send him to AAA in the short term just to figure the call-up situation down, but he's been good in a small sample size this year. He's only pitched in 7 games, only appeared in 9 1/3 innings, but he has 8 strikeouts, just an above a 1 whip, a 2.89 ERA. I'll be interested to see what Meza's role is with the Phillies in the foreseeable future. But obviously the big news, I think, is the Walker Buehler signing. I'm going to close with this. I've rambled enough. I think my point has been made. It is what it is. That's how I feel about this. And I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope that Walker Buehler is able to find some kind of rejuvenation. I hope that Walker Buehler is able to provide some quality innings for this starting rotation. But the reality is this is a guy who over 23 starts this past year has a 5.48 ERA. The reality is this is a guy who since 2022 has made 51 appearances, 50 starts, and has a 5.06 ERA. And the underlying metrics aren't good either. The FIP is not particularly strong. His ERA plus just 81. 100 is average. He's at 81. He's giving up almost 10 hits per 9. His whip, 1.488. The strikeout per walk ratio has gone in the wrong direction each of the the last 3 seasons, where it was 3.4 in 2022, 2.2 in 2024. It's down to 1.5 in 2025. I hope that I'm proven wrong, but I really don't see a whole lot of juice to this signing other than the Phillies taking a chance and trying to eat some innings down the stretch. All right, big thanks to everybody who was hanging out with us in the chat today. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode. I know it was quickly thrown together. Again, I apologize for not having a whole lot in the background here. Before you get out of here, if you are not subscribed to the PHLY Phillies podcast and PHLY Sports in general, if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscription button. It takes 2 seconds. It helps us out enormously. Your 2 seconds are worth us keeping the lights on, quite frankly. If you wouldn't mind, hit the like button on the way out as well. But thank you so much. We'll be back live on Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Remember, no live show tomorrow, Labor Day weekend. Enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. Big thank you for hanging out with us in the chat. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday. As always, we are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Mobile Lounge. The PHLY Phillies podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll see what happens with Walker Buehler. I anticipate him making a start in the next week or so. Phillies and the Brewers this week coming up. And then we'll see where he kind of slots in over the next 7 days or so. We'll talk to you on Wednesday right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. 1 p.m. We'll be back in studio. We will not be in the remote studio. We'll be back in studio at 1 o'clock right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.